The million dollar question: how do entrepreneurs transition from self-employed to owning a business that turns a profit? My name is Chris Waters, and this podcast has the million dollar answer. Welcome to CEO Secrets. Hey guys, it's your host, Chris Waters of CEO Secrets. I'm here today with special guest Byron Lazine, a licensed real estate broker and team lead of One Plus company at Williams Ravis Real Estate. In addition, Byron is the CEO of Company Cubed, a digital marketing company. By the way, I love your logo, Byron, Company Cubed.
Thank you.
The aesthetic is really cool. So Byron, you specialize in social media marketing. You were named by BombBomb, the video email platform, a 2018 video influencer winner. I hope we can spend some time digging into social media marketing, influencer marketing, and all things related to that. So welcome to CEO Secrets, Byron.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I appreciate connecting over IG, and I'm excited about doing the podcast with you.
So I've got to ask you, like, when I like survey the landscape of people that are successful at social media and building a following in the real estate industry, I mean, I'm disappointed to say the least. Like, when I look at the people at the top of the industry that have, I mean, I think most of us would say they have a pretty big following. It's still relatively tiny compared to the people that are having massive success on YouTube, Instagram, et cetera. Like, I guess one example I'll point out is Ryan Serhant. He's been on the Bravo channel, $1 million listing, and I think you go to his YouTube or Instagram, and he's got around 1 million subscribers, which, that's a lot. I'm not saying it's not, but you see these other guys like on YouTube and Instagram, and they have 20, 30, 40, 50 million. Why is it so hard for people to just build these gargantuous followings in the real estate industry? What's your take on that? Why is it so difficult?
Yeah, 1.3 million or whatever the number is now, right? There's like just over 1 million agents in NAR, National Association of Realtors. It's a niche industry, right? And so you're not going to see my opinion, you're not going to see anybody with 20 million plus in the real estate industry if they're really passionate about just focusing in on real estate. I mean, if real estate's an element of their deal, then maybe you could see somebody go up to like that, Gary V level or whatever of following. He's very broad with his approach, and he is going after that young male demographic of, 17 to 25 or whatever you want to call it. But in our industry, if you're going to focus on real estate marketing, agents, brokerages, you're not going to get to 20 million because the general population is not going to be interested in that.
So one thing the general population does care about is real estate in general, right? I mean, people love watching $1 million listing on TV. They, everybody's, always thinking about their home, getting a better one, upgrading, et cetera. So it's,
and so I guess, to cut you off, Chris, I guess you could say like Chip and Joanna have pulled it off maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know what their following is, but that could be an example. If you're going to go in that route where design and it speaks to, everybody, not everybody, but a lot of people want to get into these DIY projects. They want to become a designer. They love homes. I always hear that, right? I love houses. I just love homes. I love looking at them, designing them. I feel like I could be a great stager. You hear that all the time, right? And so if you're going to take that Chip and Joanna angle, you got more room to grow. But if you're going to talk about like the stuff that I care about, the actual business side of real estate, the industry, it'll be very difficult to amass a huge following.
So there is a proverbial ceiling from a following perspective in the real estate industry. I think we can both agree on. But what are some of the things from a macro perspective you guys are doing as a firm to accelerate that growth curve for people to build really big followings to help build their business?
We're talking about the sales team or the marketing side, the marketing company.
So your marketing agency, the clients you represent, what are some of the macro strategies, you're implementing to help your clients grow their followings,
Got it. Yeah.
Fast?
Starting a show because most of these real estate agents or teams, brokers, people in the construction world, developers, they've got a limited schedule. You know, they're salespeople at heart. They're out there selling, they're making connections, they're taking meetings with people. And the last thing they really have time to do is create endless amounts of content. And as we sit here in June 2020, you have to do that. You have to be able to speak to these and on these platforms every single day with as much content as you possibly can. There's no such thing. You know, Facebook was first, oh, you should only post 1 time a day, 2 times a day. There's no such thing as posting too much. You have to post tons of content to be able to keep up, to break through, to actually have a brand that matters online. And so if you're not doing that, you're going to fall behind. But if you don't have the time, you just find it impossible and you quit. So what we're doing is helping people start their own show where they only have to show up for the 20-minute show period, the 20-minute time slot. There's a producer on hand that helps them, script the show if they want to go that in detail, and then actually get the show done. They walk away, they go back to doing their business, and then everything else is done for them. The Instagram clips, the blog, the quote card, whatever, package they want, so that they can get 10 to 12 to even sometimes 30 pieces of content out of a 20 to 1 hour show, basically, whether that's a podcast, an interview show, a Q&A show, whatever their show is, you need to multiply the content out of that. And so that's what we're doing, taking that whole Gary V model of breaking out your content from one core pillar piece, one longer piece of content. The client sits down, does that, executes on it per plan, per schedule. They walk away, and the 20 to however many pieces of content they've signed up for are then distributed for them throughout the week on the various platforms.
So the actual distribution channels themselves for the content you're creating will attract some organic reach, but it's a very slow process. And like with a business, for example, that's got geographic restrictions, it's even more difficult and more time, takes longer to build brand equity.
Absolutely.
What are you guys doing to help accelerate, somebody's ability to grow their organic reach? Is it through sponsored ads? Are you helping bring in high profile people with big followings in that community, for example, that can help be a distribution channel to accelerate their following? What's your strategy on that side?
Definitely running ads. I mean, all these platforms we're talking about, on social media, Instagram, YouTube, the ads are really underpriced. So you want to be in on ads and buying ads. Also, you want to get sponsors in your local community, sponsors from local businesses that can offset that ad spend, or make it, if you get a sponsor for $300 for a show, let's call it, and you're willing to say to that sponsor, I'm going to take all of this money, all of it, all $300, and I'm going to put it into the Facebook ad spend, or I'm going to put it into the Instagram ad spend, right? I'm not going to keep $1 of your sponsorship. And the video, by the way, now becomes free. The $1,000 production video that we're doing for this show, where we're sponsoring your product in the show, that all becomes free. You basically just bought yourself a $300 ad without having to pay the production cost of the video. If you're willing to do that, and not, a lot of people, when they get a sponsorship, they want to pad their pockets and go buy a new purse or a fancy wallet or whatever, right? Those people aren't going to get the benefit of putting into the ads. They're not going to get the reach that they're looking for, because they're just hoping it goes viral. That's not going to happen. There isn't really one viral post you can point to in real estate. Maybe Tim Smith's teach me how to Dougie. Was that it? That boat video he did. Teach me how to Duffy. I think it's a Duffy boat. Teach me how to Duffy. Dougie was the original video. That might be the only viral true real estate listing video of all time, but you're not going to go viral. It's a slow burn. You've got to build it step by step, brick by brick, as El Presidente from Barstool Sports would say, right? Brick by brick, you've got to build this thing. It's not a quick fix, and you've got to put the money back into the show. So sponsorships for sure, the ad spend, collaborating, making sure you're in the comments, making sure engaging on other people's comments, just simple, practical, hard work stuff.
So in storytelling, there is this element of the attractive character, right? In Hollywood, they, have all these storylines and ingredients to developing the attractive character. Like Michael Hodge, for example, it's got this great book called Storytelling Made Easy. Maybe you've read.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, like, from a content perspective, you guys can, as a marketing company, you can, slice and dice the content, push it out through these distribution, uh, platforms, if you will. But how much training has to go into helping develop the attractive character, if you will, so that the content is actually something people want to pay attention to? Are you guys like coaching people on that? Like, what's your whole, perspective on actually making the person help deliver high quality content?
Yeah. So we have clients that are, I mean, we're not doing coaching per se, but we have clients that are on weekly calls to, put in the strategy production call basically around the show. And that's where we're, role playing it out and scripting it out if it gets to that level, or just putting it on paper, the basic blocks of that show. So there is some conversations behind the scene. It all depends on, that individual show. My show, for example, The Real Word, which I do with Nicole White on my team. We do a weekly show, which is on Inman every single week on Inman News. And it's 3 topics that are in the news of real estate. And it's a 3-segment show. We talk about the topics probably 15 minutes before the show. They've been selected maybe the night before. And then we're going to give our raw, authentic, unscripted takes and on those topics, right? And it should be free flowing, kind of like this, kind of like a podcast.
Sure.
I particularly like podcasts, old school talk radio rather, type of content better than scripted out stuff. Some people do really well scripting out, an eccentric video around a listing or having actors or that kind of thing. Not my particular, from my personal brand, way that I would do it, but you've got to really kind of figure out who that person is, what they're going to be most comfortable with. And at the end of the day, Chris, some people are just going to suck. Right? That's part of it.
I'm laughing because a question in my mind right now is, do you ever meet a client and you're like, you know what, you should not be putting out content, and I don't think you're a good fit for us. Like, is there, like, how would you define that person where you're like, hey, look, you should probably just give up and you should do something totally different from a content perspective, or maybe not even do content?
What I think what I said there too was probably a little too harsh. Like, even
hey, I'm sure there's people out there that should not be creating content. Like, what does that profile look like?
If you're in business and real estate, you should be creating content, meaning maybe not necessarily your face in front of the camera. I think to our point here, right, where it's like, if you're going to be really bad every single time, you're never going to improve in front of the camera, and you're just going to be completely uncomfortable, and it's going to get you out of your game, and it's going to give you anxiety, then yeah, you should probably have somebody else's face. But you should be, 100% of successful real estate teams, brokerages right now should be producing video at scale, should be producing blogs at scale, should be producing, graphics and pictures at scale. So you have to be producing content. You have to be building a brand, unless you just want to open doors for Zillow, right? Because that's what it's getting to. I've been talking about commission compression for well over 7 years. It's already here in the real estate industry. 35% off the top of everybody's deal before the brokerage dips in is the norm, is the natural of where we're heading, because of Zillow, because of Open Door, because of Op City, because of, you can name a million of them, HomeLight, right? So if you just want to be a door opener, somebody that gets a code, gives 35%, gives somebody, the team, the brokerage split, gives that all up. And basically what it's going to whittle down to is, hourly employees at some point. You can look at what OfferPad's doing right now. If you want to go that direction, then don't worry about putting out content. Don't worry about building a brand. But if you want to get out in front of these companies and you actually want consumers to come direct to you within your community, you better have a presence online, video, blog, and picture. And it should be going 7 days a week, whether it's your face or somebody else's.
So, quick question for you, more so like on the leadership front, to shift gears for a minute.
Yeah.
You're a real estate broker and you lead a real estate team. How are you managing both a digital marketing company and a real estate team? How are you balancing those two things?
Yeah. So the marketing company was built originally to, make sure that its number one client, our real estate team, was taken care of, right? And in order for us to get really good talent in that marketing company, uh, to support the real estate team, you've got to go out and take on other clients. In the beginning, we started taking, like any new marketing company would take any client here or there. We had all kinds of different clients. Now we're just narrowed down into the real estate industry: agents, brokerages, construction, developers, anything to do with real estate. That's now our niche. That's what we're focused on. But how do I actually do it day to day operationally? I've got really good people, talented people, highly talented people in the marketing company. And Jill, who's, not on this podcast, Jill kind of runs the day to day. So I do a morning meeting every single day with Jill and Vanessa, and, they'll delegate out from there and execute on our day's missions from there. And then I have meetings with the real estate team, and we've got great leaders in the real estate team that, like Lucy, who's outside of the podcast room here in the main room. They're doing a virtual Tom Ferry sales edge with the new agents right now in the new agent program. Lucy runs the new agent program. So making sure, new agents have somebody to go to, experienced agents have somebody to go to. We have full staff, real estate team. We're not, these guys aren't doing their own paper, admin work or anything like that. We've got administrators. They've got people to go to. They have support so that they don't have to come to me. If you're going to try to answer everybody's questions, then that's all you're going to do all day is got a minute stuff. But if you empower people and put the right leaders in place, then you can pull it off.
How many clients do you have on the marketing side? How many companies are you representing as a marketing agency?
Yeah. Sam, what do you think? 15 monthly on the marketing side? Probably 15, I think, clients. You can't hear what's going on over here, can you? All right. 15, I think 15 clients. I can actually get the number for you, but it's about 15. We have, we're very hands-on. It's not a marketing company where we're just pushing out automated bull crap to everybody. Everything is customized 100%. So we have clients on monthly retainer, and, some of these, they can start at a very reasonable price, or it can go up, pretty high, because we are basically taking over a big real estate team or our agency's marketing department, right? Or there's a lot of times they keep the marketing department and we're working with that marketing department. So
Do you spend any time working with, like for example, are you guys helping connect some of your clients with like, editors at newspapers or magazines or some more traditional mediums, like maybe setting up like interviews on TV? Are you guys doing any of that, or is it more on the content
Yep.
production and content distribution side?
Content production and distribution. We are not doing the traditional PR stuff.
Who do you feel like is your biggest competitor in the space you're in right now? Like who is like the person you want to like get, um, eventually overtake, if you will, in the space?
There's not necessarily somebody doing what we're doing. There's a lot of SaaS products in the space, obviously. And outside of that, there's just a lot of teams and brokerages that are hiring marketing people underneath them, or marketing departments. That's our biggest competitor, is convincing the team or the brokerage that, you should outsource this as opposed to trying to have employees within. Because employees within, a lot of people make this mistake when it comes to social media content. They hire the youngest person they know, fresh out of college, that has a bullshit marketing degree. Okay. Your marketing degree at state college isn't going to, it's just not going to do anything for you in this world. You got to know real estate, number one, and you got to know how to produce content on these platforms that actually speak to people. So that's our biggest competitors, people believing it's just easy and going out and hiring, their friend's kid. Then that person wants to take the summer off. They need 2 weeks vacation. They get sick. They have a kid, they whatever. Now you got to go hire somebody else, retrain, and it just never ends, as opposed to outsourcing it to somebody who can be there 24/7 and actually has, enough bandwidth to execute on the things you're looking to do.
Out of the 15 clients you have, is there one you could highlight that somebody could look up online and see a good example of how to,
Yeah.
what you guys are doing and just get an idea of
I'll
the,
give you one, Jill Biggs group in Hoboken. You can go check those guys out. I think that
say that one more time,
Jill Biggs,
Jill Biggs.
BIGGS, they do like close to 300 million in sales a year. They're pretty powerful team, but that'd be one I'd point to.
Cool. And you guys help her with, is it a podcast, a vlog?
We do a weekly show with her, and then we help with distribution of her Instagram, Facebook, YouTube content.
Cool. I just looked her up. Sweet.
Yeah, Jill Biggs Group, I believe it will be on Instagram.
What do you think stepping aside from marketing and things like that, what do you think you touched on a little bit about the future of real estate and real estate agents essentially at some point becoming, hourly employees, if you will, or independent contractors that, take a really low split. Do you feel like there's, ever a time the agent gets replaced? And before you answer that, one thing, I think, for the audience, maybe they do or they don't know this, companies like Open Door, they have a piece of hardware they put on the doorknob, and there's the Open Door app, and a consumer can self-tour the property. So the agent doesn't even need to open the door. How do you see that, in the future and just the future of agents?
Yeah, when I say, going to basically become hourly employees, if you look at the time you put into a deal after giving up 35% to Zillow, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, if all your value is opening that door, or to your point, Open Door, you don't even need the agent to open the door. You are basically working, an hourly position there. You don't have control like we've always had in this industry of raising the income any month or year that we want to. I think that the trend that I am most watching right now, if I'm a real estate broker, is the iBuyer trend, is what Zillow is basically doing by partnering with only now the top producers in their flex markets. Not a lot of markets, 98% of markets in the country are not flex yet. But if you look at what they're doing in flex, where they're only partnering with the best teams in those markets, that's basically kind of them hiring or contracting out that service. OfferPad is doing it with straight employees. Open Door is doing it with straight employees. The iBuyer model, Brad Inman predicted that in 2020, this year, we're halfway through, that 50% of transactions would be done by an iBuyer. I said that's a total racket. I don't think it's going to happen, but that piece of the pie is going to get a lot bigger. And here's what it is too. When homeowners really become aware of the opportunity that iBuyers are presenting, quick cash deals that can close whenever the heck you want without showings, without having to deal with all of the, friction of listing your home, when consumers at scale absolutely are aware of that, 100% of them are going to look at what their iBuyer offer is before they list. So when 100% of consumers are going to take a peek, because it's free, at what that iBuyer offer is, that's going to put the lead control in the hands of the iBuyer. And so iBuyer, whether it's Zillow or OfferPad, Open Door, or the brokerage X that, has gotten into the iBuyer game, when they're receiving that request for the instant offer, they are now in control of the lead. And everybody that's in control of the lead, you can go back however long you want in real estate. If you're in control of the lead, then you're in control of how people are compensated off of that lead when it closes. So that's what I'm watching closely, because if they decide, or if they want Amazon-like experiences for their consumers, they've got to have a very consistent way they're doing business. And if they decide that employees offer that consistency better than independent contractors, or better than any other model that's out there, that's the direction it'll go. And we're getting closer and closer to that. we're not there, and there's going to be some markets that lag. I mean, there's still one Blockbuster left in America today, so there will be some things that hang on, but I'm watching that very closely if I'm a broker.
I mean, I think, you know, hey, if you're one of these top teams in the country, for example, partnered with Zillow, that's a pretty big opportunity for the brokerage. And it seems like a smart strategy on Zillow's front because they're hiring like the top guns in every market that are the best at training agents and holding them accountable, which, you know, sounds like a pretty damn good strategy. And it seems like a good thing for the consumer too, to have the liquidity and, you know, this amazing consumer experience, right? So, I mean, as much you can hate it as an agent, but I mean,
But
it's ultimately leveling up the experience for the
yeah.
public.
And even in that example, right, with Zillow, what they're doing in Flex, partnering with these different teams, you're getting a more of a consistent experience, but it's not the same every time. You know, my team here in Connecticut's different than the Whistle team in San Diego, different than your team, different than, you know, all these different teams. So the experience is still going to be a little bit different from consumer to consumer to consumer. The only way they get it 100% the same every single time, like your experience from Zillow, is to actually control the person delivering that experience and make them an employee.
Hmm.
Right? I mean, it's just that basic. They're not going to be able to control, even if you narrow it down to 4 teams in a state or whatever, some states more, call it 200 teams throughout the country, 500 teams. You're not going to be able to get 500 teams to do things the same way every single time, every transaction like each other. So right there, your experience is different.
I could disagree with you on that point a little bit because if you think about
No,
larger,
I'd love.
if you know, if you think about large organizations that have thousands of employees and teams spread all across the world, you know, if you put in metric systems, companies are doing it. You know, Starbucks, you know,
Starbucks, you know, Starbucks is, you know, with franchisees you're talking about, right? Basically, is
yes,
that?
yes,
Yeah, I
yeah.
mean, I don't know the Starbucks model, but yeah, I guess that would kind of be, you know, a good example of how it could get pulled off. But even with, you know, Starbucks, I got to tell you, sometimes I get this cold brew with the foam on top, and some people just are terrible at making it, and some people give me a lot of foam. I like a lot of
Oh
foam
man,
on
you like
cold brew.
coffee a lot more than I do.
And some people just like they get a little bit of foam, and it's like, where, like, what barista school did you go to? Because the last 3 I got was perfect, you know. So, but I get your point, and I think Zillow is doing that with their app. I don't know. Are you still in sales, Chris, or do you operate a team still?
So I run a group in Austin, and then we have we're in 11 other markets across the
Okay,
U.S. and Canada. And our group in Austin is a Zillow Flex partner, and we're the Zillow Offer partner.
great. So,
And
I'm
Austin.
in a Zillow Flex partner market here in Connecticut as well. So I'm glad you are, because now you know. Their app, they are holding us to quite, you know, some higher standards than most people in the industry are being held to, with what we need to update in the app, what type of information they give them. And I do believe, to your point, that's, you know, that's only the tip of the iceberg. We're going to see a lot more, metrics that they're going to make us adhere to within their Zillow app.
You know, the thing I appreciate about it is I feel like it's making everybody level up their game in terms of accountability and just improving processes and systems. And so, you know, I'm sure some people out there have a love-hate relationship. I'm trying to look at the positive of it because I really do feel like it's helping us level up other areas of our business from the learnings of, you know, being a part of this. So,
Well, our business is up this year. So our market is down about 30%, 20 to 30, depending on the town, in total transactions, where our team, we're up over 100% year to date here. And one of the reasons is our Zillow Flex partnership. It's our branding. It's all of that. But without that Zillow Flex partnership, you know, our leads would have taken a serious hit. So, it's an important relationship, and I understand why there's a lot of team leaders and brokers out there that don't want anything to do with it. But at the same time, think about and this is what we teach all of our new agents. Think about all those relationships now that you have that you wouldn't have had because they were going to Zillow with or without you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you have that relationship, and now you can foster it, and now you can pour your brand into that relationship so that in 2 years, 4 years, 6 years, they come to you directly, right? That's the game with this Zillow Flex stuff.
Let me ask you something about your marketing agency. So, the potential addressable market in real estate, I believe, is a lot smaller than most people actually realize. And so,
Absolutely.
for your marketing agency, there's a proverbial ceiling, if you will, and that can be kind of demoralizing for most entrepreneurs. Like, where's your head from that perspective? Like, I know you're at 15 clients and you're going to get obviously probably a lot bigger, but there is this proverbial ceiling in the real estate industry. If you're, building a company to that niche, um, are you thinking like, is there, there's a great book out there I recommend called The Magic of Thinking Big. I heard about it through Tim Ferriss. And in The Magic of Thinking Big, he talks about how most entrepreneurs, they get out of whatever business they're in within 5 years because they feel like there's some proverbial ceiling, and they stop. They literally, the reason they get out is because they don't see any more like upward growth trajectory. And so the magic is you got to just keep thinking bigger and bigger and bigger. So for you guys, do you see it like, let's go conquer the real estate space from a marketing agency perspective and move into other verticals? Like where's your head at? And in that regards?
No, it's real estate industry. So, and again, that for to us, when we say that, that includes developers and builders. So that brings it to be a little bit bigger, but I understand where you're coming from. We're not talking about, a whole bunch of potential clients, especially with the majority of the products we sell. We have some, and you can start a show with us as low as $99. It's a brand new product that we just launched during the pandemic because we figured out a way to make it happen. But the majority of our price points are like much, much, much higher. So
I was going to ask that. What is the range? Like, what's your average retainer fee?
Like 3,000 to 5,000 a month. So when you're talking about the teams and the agents that can afford 3 to 5K a month, just on branding and content production, you're even talking about a smaller,
tiny
portion of the market. Yeah, very tiny. That being said, this is what I do, Chris. This is, I do real estate. I'm not going to go and start making t-shirts or, doing something else because it looks cool on TikTok. This is my industry. If, this is what I love to do. And, it's not as big as other industries. I get that. But I'm going to try to, find other opportunities for personal investment, whether that be multifamily stocks and be able to go that direction. We're not in it for, trophies or, glory. We're in it to build a real legitimate business, not a fly by night business. We're not just, doing one of those things where, you get hit up on Instagram all the time. It's like, hey, I'm going to up your real estate marketing. And they're like just running Instagram ads that you could do for yourself. We're really trying to make an impact and get people ahead of Zillow, even though we're Zillow Flex partners, right? And all of that, but get their brand out in front of all these disruptors that are coming over the next 5-10 years.
If you could just like stamp the date where basically that average agent gets wiped out, when would that be? If you had a crystal ball, what's the date you would stamp saying on this day, the agent doing 5 to 20 transactions as a solo agent gets wiped out? And it's literally the employee type relation deal, the high powered teams, and maybe the person that does like 2 or 3 deals because their friend's buying a house. Like when does that's my theory, by the way, is like that middle piece of agents gets wiped out. Are you on the same page? Are we on the same page about that? Like,
yeah, I think so.
Is there a category of agent that gets wiped out? And whatever your opinion is, what's the D-Day?
I do think there's a category of agent that gets wiped out. And I think it's taken a huge hit right here in 2020, right? 2020 is the year of canceling everything anyways. So why not cancel the part-time agent, right? No, if I had to stamp a date, I think we're talking the next big dip. We haven't seen that yet. We just went through a health crisis, and we haven't seen real estate fall off the cliff. We've seen some sales, total sales fall behind. I know in my market, average sale prices are going up because inventory is low, but we haven't actually seen, this huge pullback in real estate yet. I think when we do see a 2 to 3 year period, and I don't have a crystal ball, whether that's going to be the next 2 or 3 years or in a couple of years, but when we see that huge real estate recession, that's when it's going to happen.
So put a time on there for me, like timestamp the year where
Yeah,
a
definitely,
category of agent gets wiped out.
Definitely before 2030. I mean, within the next 10 years, there's going to be another, real estate recession that's a national recession in real estate. You got to think. I hope it doesn't come, right away. But, if I had to guess in the next 10 years, if it's going to be in the first half or the second half of the next 5, I do think we've got a big recession looming. We've just printed so much money, and, everything we just did the last 3 months, you've got to think logically it's coming, but a lot of things don't make sense. So, I mean, if I had to put my life on the line, I'd say the next 5 years, by 2025, you're operating in a completely different world than you are today in terms of how agents do business.
So for the record, 2025 is the prediction of when maybe that middle category of agent gets wiped out.
Yeah. I'll go with what's yours?
Before I answer that, I think what's interesting is, and a question that needs to get answered is, iBuyers, will they prosper and do better in a down market because people will, their motivation will be so high. And a lot of people have developed equity in their
they'll control the lead in a down market for sure. Because even if people don't take that deal in the down market, they're looking at it more than, that's when they're going to look at it more than ever. The down market, a lot of things are going to change. And so, yeah, I think the iBuyers I'm telling you, that's what I'm watching the most. That's what I'm most concerned about for the average agent.
So my prediction is 2023.
Okay. So yeah, you think we're already in the process?
I think it's in the midst, as these iBuyers further expand across the United States and gain market share and partner with more of the top teams in the country, and consumers have positive experiences. It's only going to perpetuate and scale across the country. So I think that's a 24-month. I think there's like a 24-month runway.
Who's going to have more control in 2023 or 2025 on my projection here? Is it going to be teams or brokerages?
So what's interesting. My point of view is I don't see the difference between a team and a brokerage. Like if you run a high-powered team, your team members are coming to you with all the broker related questions. So it's like, why even be associated with a brokerage? And, there are brokerages out there that have, these unique value propositions, downline revenue, things of that nature. But it's a lot of, a lot of people are going to disagree with me here, but I think it's a lot of smoking mirrors, because the downline revenue that could disappear really quickly if that middle category of agent disappears. And if we even take that piece out of the equation, you got to remember, like, even if none of these things were happening in the industry from a disruption perspective, there's constant turnover from an agent perspective. And so, like, you're basically owning a job to be a recruiter to maintain a downline revenue stream.
And you've seen what the last couple of years, what's happened at KW kind of speaks to that point that you're making, right? So
what on the technology front, it seems like if there's anybody that has a good chance of winning the tech game that's already in the brokerage space, it seems like KW probably has the highest odds of actually pulling it off compared to Realogy and some of the others. Would you agree or disagree with that?
A little bit. I would say that I believe in their leader the most out of those big name brokerages. I think he's just got more fight in him than the majority of the leaders in this space, which makes me believe he's going to invest in the things he says in the right, tech, and he's going to go deeper into it. He's going to go more all in than some of these other leaders that are going to play defense. But their technology, they certainly believe it's the best. I still think Zillow could crush them like a bug.
What do you think will happen to a company like Realogy, which its stock price has crashed? They still control a lot of transactions. Realogy owns a lot of different brands. Do you think we'll see Realogy eventually shutting down and being sold off as parts in the coming years?
I can tell you that, if you go back on any of my podcasts or the Real Word or anything, I have been saying for years now to buy Zillow stock, and I'm eating my own dog food on that. I'm buying Zillow stock. And even when Realogy went from, like trading around $10 last year, and then when all the stocks dropped the last 3 months, they went down to like $2. Now they're back up to like 6 or 7 or whatever they're at today. Even when they were at $2, I didn't buy one share of Realogy. I continued to buy Zillow at $40, $50, $60 a share. So yeah, I don't think the future's incredibly bright. I'm not investing in their future.
What would you expect to have? Like if you had here we go with crystal ball exercise again.
Yeah.
If you had to take a guess, do you think Realogy gets sold off for parts, or somebody tries to acquire them like Amazon? What do you feel like is the what do you see as the future of Realogy?
I don't see a big acquisition scooping up everything, because there's, I think there's some parts that a big company like Amazon wouldn't want. So I think they get sold off. I think they get sold off to the latter, selling off parts here and there. If I had to make a guess, I have no idea. Maybe, maybe they're listening to little, conversations like this, and they're going to go all in on building brand the right way. I think they've got a chance to reverse course. Maybe their debt on the balance sheet doesn't allow them to do that. But, I'm not a hater of Realogy, and I have tons of friends across the country that are top Realogy producers. And I have a lot of respect for all the brands there, but, they're also behind the 8 ball in terms of being able to invest in growth.
You think there's a chance the company could just fail and literally shut down?
My gut says no, but I have said over the years that I do think you will see a couple of big names fail, because as bigger names take up space and market share, Zillow, for example, with Flex and then buying homes, their percent of controlling transactions. They were basically an ad platform, and now they are a transaction platform. And you can go to Rich Barton's quotes, and he'll tell you they're a transaction platform now. They're a marketplace. They're not an ad platform anymore. And so the more they lean into that and they control transactions, somebody's got to go. One of these big names has to go. And so whether it's one of the,
it is, who's the first one to fail?
put me on the spot here, Chris.
Come on, let's hear it.
I don't really want to, upset too many people.
Hey, every great marketer can be polarizing. Come on.
Yeah, I would say we're talking about Realogy brands. I would say it'd be one of those if I had to guess.
Which one? What specific brand do you think bites the dust?
The one that just changed their sign. All right. That were trying to be the Cowboys out there. Maybe it's that one. That would be my guess.
And for our audience that doesn't know who that is, what company is that?
CB. You're pulling it out of me, Chris.
So Century 21.
No. CB.
Coldwell Banker. Banker.
I think Century 21. I think one of those Realogy brands would be my guess. Just
put a date on it. When does Coldwell Banker close its doors?
I don't know. It probably will never happen.
You can't say that. You just said it's going to be the first to fail. Come on now.
No, I said if I had to guess on one of the big names here, that would just be. That'd be a wild guess. I think Realogy brands overall are the most vulnerable to something like that. Again, I have a lot of belief in what KW's leader can pull off. EXP has so much steam right now. They're recruiting like crazy. I mean, the easy answer is Compass, because they're so over leveraged. And they've built that'll be my answer. Compass, okay?
You think
Because
Compass will be the first one to fail?
yeah, I think I want to change it to them. Here's why. They are out there claiming to be this incredible tech company with all this great tech. We're a tech company first. That's such a cute thing to say. We're a tech company first. They're a traditional brokerage. They are basically trying to be Sotheby's 2.0. Okay, the way they've recruited agents, the markets they've gone into first, and they've amassed a ton of debt to basically become Sotheby's 2.0. So unless they're going to actually overnight become a true tech company, or unless they're actually, going to completely pivot and shift, they're probably my pick.
So if I hear your pecking
And
order,
I hope nobody fails. I want us all to win. I want that to be clear. Brokers, agents, I want us to win. I want us to invest in our brands the right way, and continue to, keep our fat commissions and all of that. But you're pulling some stuff out of me here, Chris.
you might be a politician after your marketing agency.
You're
trying
right.
to be all politically correct.
You're right. I like talk radio, so it'd be good.
So the pecking order, if I heard you right, number one, Compass fails first. Coldwell Banker fails twice, and in his third Century 21.
Yeah, sure. Throw them in there. Let's get everybody to hate me so I can get no business. I love all you guys. I got a lot of friends at Compass too. Love you.
You know, the thing is like you're trying to help people build their own individual brands versus helping these large corporations build their brands. That's the truth, right?
Yeah, but as we climb the ladder, certainly, I'd love to be sitting there one day.
But you wouldn't want one of those guys as a client, because I'm failing.
I'd love to sit there across the table, despite the things that I've just said. And if one of those companies was needing to pivot in a massive way, I'd love to work on that type of project. But we got to climb the ladder. We're a young company.
Who would be who would you like to, like, among the enterprise clients, if you will, who's somebody you would like to bring on as a client that's got a big business like KW, EXP, like wave a magic wand, tomorrow they're a client. Who would you love to have on board as
privately owned companies? I would not want to work necessarily on one of these big public branded companies. There's a lot of private companies that are, say, between 2,000 and 8,000 agents that have a phenomenal business, that are nimble enough to make changes quickly. Those are the type of companies that I'd want to work with.
It seems like a big opportunity for you would be with luxury agents, because in the $200,000 to $800,000 price point, you can have a lot of success and not be referral based, and just simply buy leads and have a great business. And so it seems like the content side would do really well in the luxury space, like million plus in like high end markets and stuff.
Yeah, and also really even that small town agent though, that's not in a luxury price point, that invests in producing content daily on their social media platforms and engages with the local businesses and the local leaders, they've got a real shot at taking over, the market share in their geographical area. So yes, on luxury agents, I'm a little bit, my beliefs are like, hey, I mean, I didn't graduate college or anything. So like a B to me, like an 80 on a paper was like really good. I really liked getting an 80. That made me feel real good. And I tell people, hey, like, that video is like 80% perfect. Get it out there, put it out there, where, a lot of these luxury managers, I'll say, and I won't blame it on the agent. A lot of these luxury managers are, instilling this belief that it's got to be perfect. It's got to be, I spent 5 years at Sotheby's. It's got to be like, our standard. We have a certain way we do things. And I just don't think that speaks to the everyday consumer anymore. So you got to be real and authentic, which means some of your production value isn't going to be what everybody believes Sotheby's or Compass should look like.
So speaking of real estate, you're in the trenches. You've been an agent. You have, insider knowledge, if you will. Where are you investing in real estate? Where do you see the biggest opportunities? Maybe in your local market or nationally? Where are you looking as a insider in the industry?
Yeah, if anybody lives in a 30-minute radius where there's a lot of, rental properties and you can drive a good rent, certainly investing in multifamilies. If you can get 3, 4, 5 unit buildings, love that space. We don't have really any of them here on the Connecticut shoreline. There's a few, but not a lot of inventory, to that degree. And then, if you're in real estate, I've been saying it, invest in Zillow stock. You'll thank me later when it's $300 a share. Okay. There's a prediction. I know you want to get me to make a lot of predictions here on this show. Zillow will be a $300 stock at some point. And Glenda Baker down in Atlanta, she actually did an analysis, a breakdown. She was, buying Zillow zip codes for like years. And she's just took all the money. She actually invested, about $1 million over, I think, a 5-year period in buying, zip codes in that Atlanta area. And she did an analysis. She took that same amount of money and just put it into the Zillow stock and did nothing. Didn't take a buyer out, didn't do anything. She would have made a lot more money on her investment, a bigger return on her investment just by buying Zillow stock. So when something is too big to fail, go and buy into that.
Are you associated, is your real estate company associated with a brokerage or are you independent?
We're associated with William Ravis. It's one of those, they're like 4,000 to 5,000 agents. I think on Swanepoel's volume, they were like number 11 or 12 in the country. And that's just Northeast and South Florida. So it's one of those independent, it's actually a family owned real estate business, privately owned. And they're local to here, but not throughout the country.
So if I had to guess, your stock predictions are: number 1, short sale Realogy. Number 2, buy stock in Zillow. And third, the only other big publicly traded company is EXP. Sounds like you're bullish on EXP stock.
Short term, I think EXP is going to continue to. You've seen it. There's so many independent brokerages, big independent brokerages that have just said, "Screw it, I'm done," and went over to EXP. So, they've got real momentum, and you can't look at them as somebody that's going to disappear. They're not. Short term, yeah, I think EXP is probably okay unless that big dip's coming that we talked about earlier. Another place I'd invest if you are an independent brokerage is making sure all your auxiliary services, you own them, right? Obviously mortgage is the easy one, but construction and, so many different services. If you have a high amount of transactions and implementing that iBuyer program, like you should own the IP of all these different things that homeowners are going to be going and spending money on no matter what. So, that's easier to pull off if you're an independent broker or a large team that controls a lot of, transactions.
Cool. Byron, thanks for being on CEO Secrets today. You did a great job with my all these questions I've been hammering you with, and I appreciate all your predictions and stock picks and insight on marketing.
I want to leave everybody with one thought. All right. I love Coldwell Banker, Compass.
You're so political. Get out of here.
I love you guys. Thank you, Chris. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, this has been great, Byron.